Hello and welcome back to Papeles de Elibe. I'm Eli and I like to share my love for stationery on this channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with y'all my absolute failure of a 2024 lineup. Obviously, it's super late in the year to be doing a 2024 techo kaigi type video. You may have noticed that I didn't do a techo kaigi for 2024. Not that you're paying super close attention, but I mean, if you're in like the planner and journaling YouTube space, then techo kaigis / overviews of the planners that you're going to use in a given year are just really easy content to make, like a given video for every year in your content calendar, and really fun content to watch as well, I think. But I made the one for 2023 super late in the year, and that was because I started making videos super late in the year. So I wanted to give it a little bit of time before I uploaded my 2024 techo kaigi, just to like kind of have a balance, to not upload two techo kaigis so close to one another. And also I thought it'd be more fun to see a techo kaigi of planners that are already like kind of filled out, but I never really got into the groove of my system. And you may have guessed from looking at like these two stacks of planners here that it was because I absolutely turned my hobby into a chore. I learned a lot from this year. I'm not going to repeat the same mistake next year. I already have my lineup and I'm so excited for that. But we're not talking about 2025, we're talking about 2024. So I'm going to use this book as a reference. I'm going to start with this book and then I'm going to go in the order of how I wrote everything down. So this book is my stationery playground / journal about journaling. And then I wrote down what I wanted to use each section for. So I wanted to use my monthly index for stationery spending, which I don't think I did it all, and if I did, it was probably, yeah, I put one entry in there. My monthly calendar for stationery releases / news, and I don't think I did that at all either. I wanted to use the horizontal weekly / blank memo for discoveries, wish list / new products of interest, journaling developments. I did actually do a fair amount of that. I definitely wasn't as consistent with it as I wanted to be or as I planned on being, but I did some of it, and it was nice to have a place that was dedicated to testing out new stationery that I got. The reason why I have a bunch of like pages that are kind of torn up like that is because I use this to test out the little index stickers that Hobonichi sells, and my daughter got a hold of this and she ripped off every single one. She loves showing off her little, is it finger dexterity? She just loves like using these two little fingers right here, and she loves picking up tiny things and picking at tiny things. So that's what happened. That kind of sucks, but it could have been way worse. So yeah, like I said, wasn't super consistent, but I did enjoy using this, and I don't regret having this planner for this reason, because even though this is dated for 2024, I mean, really, I can use this for however long it takes me to fill it up. I really don't mind that, and I do plan to continue using this in the next year. So yeah, even though it has a lot of blank pages, I wouldn't say that this was a total failure. And then I wanted to use my 100 for stationery favorites. I still think that's a great list to have, and I just kind of forgot that I even meant to have that as a list, but yeah, I didn't do it. I'm looking for it, but I know I didn't write down a single thing. Maybe one thing at the beginning of the video, or at the beginning of the year, but no, not even that. So for how successful this was, I'd say about like a 6 out of 10, even though it's filled out way less than 60%. It's not about how filled out it is, it's about how useful it was to me in my journaling practice, I guess you could say. And I did really enjoy using this, so I'd say this is about a 6. Next is my Nolte 3111 inside my passport size TN as the wallet and date keeper. So I had this inside here for a little bit. I have since taken it out. I've stopped using this year. Everything that I tracked in here, I now track in my 2025 Hobonichi weeks. So I wanted to use the Gantt chart as a habit tracker, which kind of worked at first. I definitely wasn't really, I was not very consistent with that at all. I don't think I'm very good with the long-term habit trackers. I'm much better at tracking habits week to week. My monthly index as a menstrual cycle tracker, and Again, was not consistent, but this is definitely better than nothing. My horizontal weekly for non-negotiable obligations and the blank memo across from it for daily events to go to, loved ones, special days, and dates of interest. And I mean, I would say this is also about a 6 out of 10 because, like the other one, it's not super filled out. But there were some times where, like, there was a community event that I was really interested in, or when I would come across bulletin boards across town that had flyers with really interesting sounding events to me, or when I got cast in a play and was also balancing, like, a bunch of interpreting appointments. It was really nice to have a place to have them all in one place. Like, yeah, I could have used Google Calendar, but I just don't use digital calendars anymore. I don't like using digital calendars. So, yeah, as you can see, it's really empty. But it did bring me some usefulness. Maybe it was more of a 5. Maybe more of a 5 out of 10. It wasn't completely useless, but it also, like, you know, wasn't that much of a game changer for me. And I didn't like having a wallet that was this big. I had a yellow, I think it was just called a canvas wallet that was in the B-Sides and Rarities Travelers Company, what would you call it, lineup collection. And I used that in here. And at first I had this in here with a small Travelers Company, like a regular refill, regular passport size refill as a little commonplace book. But then I got this as a commonplace book instead. This is a book from Sterling Ink, and I just recently started using it, and I really, really love it. And I had this in there with the book for a minute, but it was just a little too chunky. And like I said, I didn't need this anymore because I'm not using my 2025 week. So this was just meh. It wasn't like an awful mistake, but it wasn't that useful to me either. So next up is my Hobonichi planner. This was supposed to be my personal EDC. I wanted to use the monthly index for the most memorable part of my daily, which I did not do, not even a little bit. I wanted to use the monthly spread for a daily doodle, which I did do only a little bit, and I do mean only a little bit, only a tiny bit. Yeah. And then the daily pages were supposed to be kind of a daily summary, ephemera, thoughts, media consumption. And I didn't really use it in that way. I was really struggling to figure out how to use it at the beginning. But honestly, this is like, I mean, I could almost even call this a 10 out of 10 for me because of how much I enjoyed using it. I do have a lot of blank pages, but the pages that I do have filled out are just so precious to me, and I had so much fun. And I discovered that I really like adding some color to my pages and decorating with PET tapes. Like, I had planned for this to be a kind of just a black and white minimal color type of journal, but I like it like this so much more. Like, the ink color that I write with can just be black, and that's fine. But for my decorations, I really like to add some color. And this was just so much fun to use. And it's so hard to stay consistent because it really does take me, like, at least half an hour to fill out a page this size because I feel like I have to, like, plan it out so well. And, yeah, I mean, how many times can I repeat? I have so many blank pages, right? But I still love this thing. And I'm not going to be using it again next year, but I am going to be using something that allows me to have the same fun and get the same joy out of it that I did from this. So, I mean, I can almost say it was a 10 out of 10, but realistically, with how inconsistent I was, probably like, again, like a 6 or 7 out of 10. And this was way too big for me to carry around. I don't know what I was thinking when I thought I was going to carry around this and the little passport TN that I showed you. But this is really fun to take on a dedicated cafe journaling trip. So yeah, and then my 100 I was going to use for things that make me happy. And I do think I did a little bit of that. Oh, literally 3 things. The first one is Right Said Fred's I'm Too Sexy. I was obsessed with it at the end of last year. Anyway, moving on. Jibun techo, the goalkeeper and task manager. The yearly schedule I was going to use for how impactful was my day. I don't think I did that at all. The Gantt chart for long-term goal progress, maybe I did that in January. The monthly spread for goal highlights and anything that may require action or planning. The weekly pages was to plan for goal progress and New York Times puzzle scores. And then there's various list pages in here that I was going to use. I labeled them all with little tabs so that I could remember to use them. This is honestly really, really empty. No, there were definitely times where I was super consistent with the weekly, but despite this being one of my more consistent books at one point, it still was kind of, I don't know. It's hard to say. This is probably like a 3 out of 10 for me because it is nice. Instead of really using it for goal progress necessarily, well, I guess I did use it for goal progress because I would write down like the kind of goal, the category of goal, I guess you could say, that I was making progress towards, and then writing down what I did. And it could be something simple like a goal is to stay more in touch with my family, so I went to mom's for mole and I offered a tongue scraper to my brother because my husband and I ordered Guru Nanda, I think it's pronounced, and I think it came with like 3 tongue scrapers and we only needed 2, of course, or maybe it came with 2 and I already got regardless, we had an extra tongue scraper and I saw that he had disposable ones, and so I offered him like the steel one because it was more durable. Anyway, super besides the point, but it was nice to have a place to exercise the muscle of I am making progress towards my goals, reminding myself that even if I don't feel it, there are little things that I do in a day that take me closer to becoming the kind of person that I want to be. But I just simply did not need a whole planner for it. And to be honest, the only reason I had a whole planner for it is because I wanted to use the jibun techo, because I wanted to use this cover. You might already know this from watching my channel previously, but I really think I'm just going to use the life book. I think the life book is really good, even though I haven't dipped into it at all this year, but I think I will next year because my lineup won't be as chaotic next year, and I'll probably have a little bit more space to actually get in here. And I just think this is such a good idea to have one reference planner to take throughout all your years, gather up information, and have just like a really big picture reflection place. But yeah, this was probably like a 3 out of 10. If you're curious as to if I used the other parts of the book, like that weren't the weeklies, this is the yearly schedule, I think. This isn't a Gantt chart, right? I forget what a Gantt chart is now. But yeah, anyway, build YouTube channel, replied to comments. That's all I ever put. Oh, in March, I randomly stepped back in here. Court interpreter certification, began Good Notes resource book. I don't think I'm doing this anymore. My career has kind of taken me in a different direction. Where's the, this is the Gantt chart. No, this is the same thing. Okay, well, okay, so we just looked at the Gantt chart. That was long-term goal progress. The monthly spread was supposed to be goal highlights and anything that may require action or planning. I did a little bit on January 1st. Read 2 books, downloaded Melodics. It's like this music teaching software. 100 YouTube subs. Full-on grocery trip for meal prep. So I did it once. And if you don't have much going on, or if you don't have like 10 journals / planners to keep up with, that might be a good idea. But yeah. I want to find the yearly, like I know I didn't use it. Okay. This is supposed to be how impactful was my day. Like I would fill in, if I had a full box filled in, it would be that I had a really impactful day. If the box was like blank, it would mean that like my day wasn't impactful at all. But I didn't do that literally at all. So we can just move on. The Take a Note Medium Weeks is the next journal that I have on here. And it's my work journal. And I don't have it with me because it's in my office at work, and honestly I wouldn't have been able to show it to you anyway because it has super confidential information in there. My main goal for that book was to write down little stories from my various interpreting experiences, because being an interpreter, you just meet so many different kinds of people and have such crazy experiences. Like I got to see a C-section, I've seen many births. One time I saw one where the young woman was not under any kind of pain medication at all. That was crazy. And just the things that people have told me in their stories of like coming to the US, they're really beautiful. But obviously extremely personal. That book is just for my eyes, and I don't use it for that anymore. I use it to kind of just create a daily task list for my job as an administrative assistant to immigration attorneys, and just write down whatever notes I might need throughout any given week. I was going to use the horizontal Gantt chart for the days that I worked. I didn't. The vertical Gantt chart for a Spanish language media tracker, I didn't. The monthly pages for where outside of work did I use Spanish. I did that like twice in January. My vertical weekly and blank for appointment times, vocabulary learned, and patient stories. I did actually keep up with, I did it more than maybe like 50, maybe less than 50-50. It's like I spent a lot of time in there, but it was just I just came across a lot of information while I was working. So even though I put a lot of information in my book, it still wasn't close to all of the information that I would have liked to put in there. And then the blank pages, vocabulary notes on furthering interpreting career, I think I filled out like 3 pages. So I'm trying to make up for all the books that went to waste this year by reducing how many books I buy next year. So I'm just going to use the same take a note medium weeks as my work journal for next year. I'm going to use all the blank pages in the back because I could set up a weekly spread across 2 pages, and I would have enough pages for that. So that's what I'm going to do. Next, I have the Hobonichi Hone A5 as my time tracker and knowledge keeper. I was going to use my monthly index as a learning index, my monthly spread as a what did I write about in my morning pages kind of tracker, because sometimes I have really good days in my morning pages, but then they just get lost in the sea of my cursive, and I don't want to, if I want to look back on it, I don't want to have to look for it forever. I want to have a place where I can just see what day I wrote whatever I'm looking for and find it. But I did not use that section of my A5. Surprise, surprise. My weekly pages as a time tracker, and my daily pages as the things that I was learning that I was trying to incorporate into my life, and my 100 for new experiences. So let's see what I did. Monthly index. I didn't put anything in there. There are things to put on these pages. I just didn't. I haven't. I still could. A couple of things, but yeah. I think I did a little bit of this at one point. There we go. That's it. I wrote it in one block. My time tracking, I did a little bit. I really didn't do much. Let's see it. Yeah, this is really embarrassing, guys. Like, to be very honest with you, this is like, it's worth sharing it with people, you know? Like, this has kind of been weighing on me all year, but seeing it and sharing it, it's like, it sucks. I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed. Like, all this wasted paper, all the trees, you know, like. And don't get me wrong, this is not going to go completely to waste, because a lot of these I am going to try to use next year. I know I said that I was going to try to overwhelm myself, and it's not that they're going to have like the exact same purpose or that, I mean, I don't know. I'm not giving up on these books because I can't, because it's just too much, you know? It's just too many blank pages. I won't allow myself to do that. I do actually have some pages that I have written in, and again, it's not a lot, but it's something. I've written down some meal prep. I was taking some notes on a master mobile filmmaking in 20 minutes YouTube video. I know I didn't finish them. Let's see, where else did I know I took some notes on a big LumaFusion video. No, not LumaFusion. I already used LumaFusion. On a DaVinci Resolve video. I was taking notes on that, and I don't know where they went. But I think I might have taken 2 pages. Nope, it was half a page of books. Wait, is it half a page? Yes, it's just half a page. But I did use it a little more in the end as I started taking an online course on community organizing, because I was going for a community organizer position. I didn't get it, but the young woman who got it is way more qualified than I am, so I really can't be mad. So I was taking notes on that. I'm taking notes on The Artist's Way. My friends and I are going pretty hard on that. And then I'm also taking notes on immigration law because sometimes in the meetings with the immigration attorneys that I work for, things just go over my head, and I want to be able to understand a little bit more and hopefully become a more effective assistant through growing my understanding. So yeah, that's all that I use this for. What can I say? This is probably like a 3 out of 10. I never went back to reference like the timekeeping. I mean, as you can see, I didn't really keep up with the timekeeping at all. And then I didn't do barely any notes writing from learning in here. But then once I got to October, I did a little more, and I was like happy to have this dedicated space. But still, this is a disappointment, but I am going to continue to fill this up with things that I'm learning, because for next year, I don't have a dedicated place to put these kinds of notes. So I'll just have to come back to here any and every time that I want to write down notes on something that I want to learn. On to the second stack of books, and turning the page, I have the Hobonichi Day Free A5 as the highlight scrapbook. I don't want to go through the list of what I was going to use each thing for anymore, because the shame and guilt and embarrassment is just like weighing on me. But I'm going to continue to share just because I want you to be able to get some ideas. Even though these things didn't work for me, they might work for you. Like, you might have a multi-book system and you're looking for something to track or something to put in your books, and you might actually keep up with it. So in my monthly index, I was going to highlight the days that I recorded. So that was just going to be like, if I put anything in here, I was just going to like use a highlighter to highlight like the whole line. And I have this big box set from Mildliner, and I was just going to go through as many of them as I could, just like highlighting a line. The monthly calendar was going to be a daily photo. I was going to dedicate a 2-page scrapbook spread to each month, and my 100 was going to be beautiful memories. And I didn't do anything at all. I've saved so much ephemera intending to do something, but a bunch of it I've just randomly stuck in here because my basket of ephemera was getting so full, and it was starting to stress me out. But this is not, like, I ran out of, this is removable adhesive tape that I use to put these in here, by the way. So these are not permanently stuck on here. I can easily remove them at any time, but this was like almost just as stressful as having everything. This might have been just as stressful as having everything in the big ephemera box that I have. But yeah, I haven't done anything in here, literally anything. And I don't know if I ever will. Like I said, I have all of the ephemera to do it, so I want to, but it just takes me so long to do anything, and I'm just falling in love with like my next year's books, and I don't know if I want to revisit this, but hopefully, my next year's lineup is so pared down that I have a little bit of extra time to put into something like this. We'll see. Next is my Hobonichi Weeks Financial Planner. I was going to use the monthly index to track my total daily spending. So this wasn't like this wasn't taking into account like the money that I spent plus the money that I made. It was just the money that I spent, that my husband and I spent. But as you can see, I only did that for 3 days. The monthly calendar was going to be earnings and 1099 deductions. So like I said, I used to work as an interpreter, and I wanted to stay up on how much I was supposed to be earning each week based on what I know they're paying me hourly and how long an appointment was, blah, 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 just so that when the check came, I could like double check and be like, okay, that tracks, that matches with what I have. And I have the miles that I drove. I have a wish list over here as well, but yeah, I didn't really keep up with that either. I'm surprised that I kept up all the way in May, or like attempted to keep up. I don't think this is like everything that I got. The horizontal weekly and blank memo was supposed to be the weeks for transaction details, amount, where from, payment method, and then the memo for more detailed breakdowns where necessary, items that caught my attention, financial convos with my husband, etc. So I don't know if I ever had a week where I like really did the full thing. Maybe this, There were a lot of weeks that I like attempted to stay on top of it, but it's just hard to get every single transaction, you know? It still was not complete. Like all of this, I feel like all of this is the kind of, if you're just filling out like little highlights from your life, I feel like you can have incomplete information and it still be valuable. But I feel like when it's financial information, if it's incomplete, it's just completely useless. And that's what a lot of this is, unfortunately. So yeah, I am surprised I tried to keep up with it for this long, but I know I completely fell off. That must have been like June, July that I completely fell off. So yeah, this was like, I mean, I don't know. If it had worked well, it would have been great. This is one of those like all or nothing things, you know, like I said. So because it wasn't a 10, I feel like it was a 0 probably. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but yeah, that was a 0. And I forgot to say this was also a 0. This is making me so sad. I'm so glad I'm getting down to the last books. So the next one is my stationery playground / journal about journaling, but I already went over that. So the next one is my Hobonichi Weeks Mega, and that is my emotional tracker. And I was going to use the monthly index to say how emotionally intense the day was, kind of like how impactful my day was in the jibun techo. If it was like super filled in, the way that it was filled in would indicate the intensity of emotion, I guess, but didn't keep up with that. The monthly calendar was supposed to be a social tracker. Who did I talk to or spend time with? Kept up with it in the first week of August, and that was it. My horizontal weekly was going to be to track my mood throughout the day, and I did actually do that a couple of times. Of course, a couple of times throughout the week throughout the year isn't great. I feel like I used it beyond March, though. I have a random week in here that I used it, and I think that's probably the only other week outside of like the beginning of the year that I used it. So because of how incomplete it was, I mean, I love the concept again, but it's just like in combination with everything else, it just didn't work for me. I don't know. I'm feeling a 2. I'm feeling a 2 out of 10 on this. The next Hobonichi Weeks is supposed to be my dream journal. I fell in love with this and I thought it would be perfect for dreams. My monthly index was supposed to be hours of sleep. Are you surprised? The monthly calendar was supposed to be the high and low temperature and the sunrise sunset times. I don't know how that correlates to sleep, but I was like just really running out of things to track. And I have always kind of been interested in that, keeping track of the temperature and sunrise sunset time. And then, of course, the horizontal weekly and blank memo were supposed to be to write about my dreams. And I have a lot of pages where I just have no memory because I wanted to write down something. So if I remembered longer than a line, I would use this. Did I ever do that? Let's see. I saw a dream, but I don't think it went into the weekly memo. I didn't realize this one was this empty. Yep, so I'm feeling a 0 on this. And finally, we have the Hobonichi Hone A6, and this was supposed to be my language learning journal. I was supposed to use the monthly index for Duolingo section/unit tracking. I put 1 entry in there. I was supposed to use the monthly calendar for Japanese/French, where I use Japanese or French outside of Duo, because those are the 2 languages that I was trying to learn this year, or trying to learn a little bit of this year. I knew I wasn't going to be fluent in either one of them by the end of the year. I was going to use the daily pages for Duo lesson content and my 100 for favorite words. I don't think I put anything in my favorite words, but off the top of my head, I really love konbini from Japanese. So it means convenience store. Konbini desu. That means it's a convenience store. I love saying that phrase. But yeah, I did not really keep up with it after January 6th. So that's that. I think this is also probably a 0 because, you know, if I stopped using it in January 6th. So yeah, and then over here I had the books that I wanted to kind of be in and out of. These were supposed to be the books that I was going to be consistent in, if not day to day, at least week to week. But then I also had books here that I wanted to jump into sometimes, or well, these are also just books that that didn't have like a lot of explanation to them. So I have the Midori paper cover holds my morning pages journal. I am extremely consistent with morning pages, actually. It's crazy how consistent I am after like seeing so many blank pages in my other books. But with morning pages, I'm actually like, I'm really good at that. I have a Hobonichi 5-year A6 that's supposed to be my baby journal for my daughter, and I'm really, 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 really sad about how much I let it go this year. I also have a personal 5-year diary, which I let go even more. A Levenger Circa as a user manual. I haven't put anything in there. I've had some thoughts of things to put in there. And a Jujium folio or something like that for a fountain pen journal. Haven't used that at all. This was a really like terrible year for me when it comes to planning. However, I will say that I did learn a lot about myself and the way that I like to plan. And so what I want to leave you with, other than the knowledge that using multiple books might be setting yourself up for failure, buying an extra book when you already have planned out all the planners you need just because it's pretty is probably setting yourself up for failure. Don't turn your hobby into a chore. I hope I've given you some ideas for things that you can track in your planners and journals based on, you know, my long list of, I'm gonna put it up to the screen, all of my lists, so that you can hopefully like screenshot it or pause it, and hopefully, you know, some of this is intriguing to you. Some of this is something that you might want to track in your journals. But aside from that, even though I had a really terrible year in my planners, I did learn 2 major things. One is something that we've already discussed, and that was that in my A6 planner, I really like to decorate. I really like putting the summary of a day onto a single little page with color, with photos, with stickers. It's something that really appeals to me and it's really fun, but it also takes a really long time. So I've taken that information and made my decision for next year that I'm really excited about. It's going to be in another video. And I also learned that I hate. There are few things in planning and journaling that I hate more than sitting at a book and trying to recall information. Like, that is what caused the failure in so many of my books, like the emotions tracker especially, and the Hobonichi A6 planner at first. It feels like such a waste of time, and I always get worried that I'm going to like plan my page, and then after I've planned my page, I remember something that I didn't think about. So I started carrying around this little book instead of the A6 planner. This is the first one that I started carrying around, and then I went on to this one. But I started writing down all of the information that I was trying to track in all of my books. So plus like extra little lists sometimes. But I have the date here, and I have what I would put in my daughter's 5-year journal, and what I would put in my personal 5-year, and what my emotions were throughout the day, and something exciting about the day. I think AG Calling must have come out on this day, June 10th, from Atarashi Gakko. I wrote down what I bought, even though I didn't write the price. I wrote down what I ate, and then I wrote down like how my time was being used, a timeline of each day. So I really thought that this book, I was almost going to make a video about these books. It was going to be the notebooks that saved my lineup. But they didn't save my lineup. They could have saved my lineup, but I don't know. Like, it wasn't hard for me to write down all of that information in one place, but it still was hard to sit down and try to transfer everything to other books. So I'm still really happy that I made the discovery of using these. I didn't finish this book because of this, as you can see. But I did finish this book. I still have blank pages in it, but still, I was so much more consistent in this than I was in like any of my other journals, right? And I just found this so valuable. So I also use this to make my decision for next year, and I'm so excited to share it with you guys in another video soon, because this has been This has been really awful for me. Like I said, I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed and just, But don't worry, I'm not like, I don't know, throwing my books away or anything like that. I'm going to try to use the pages to the best of my ability, but I'm not going to buy a bunch of planners anymore because it doesn't lead to good feelings. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. And please come back for the next one because I think it's actually going to be a successful lineup in 2025. But of course, only time will tell. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Bye!